James, first of all, thank you very much for your time. Congratulations. And then we are super excited. Such a privilege to have you here in a soul session, and we have a little time to talk with you. Of course, especially because of your new single, "The Time Has Come Today," which is a brilliant song, really.
Thank you.
To be honest, I'm listening still, of course, mostly songs, and then I'm collecting the vinyls from the 70s and the early 80s, because my opinion, that's really that's the time, how to say. But when I'm listening the brand new releases, even if the artist from the 70s or someone who was already active in the 70s, it's very rarely happening what I felt when I heard your song, because it's really the sound and everything which is coming out from this song, such a 70s feeling, such a it's unbelievable, really. So let's start with a little background of your new single. If you can share some, how has it happened? What's the story behind the song?
Sure, absolutely. First of all, thank you so much for having me on your show. It is an honor and a pleasure to be, all the way over there in Budapest, man. It's really cool. The new single, "Time Has Come Today," was about me releasing my fear. I did music for the last 45 years, and I've worked with everybody from Luther Vandross to Michael Jackson to Cher and Bruce Springsteen, Sting. And so finally, I've come full circle from doing music and then being in radio over here in America. I had my own radio show, Heart and Soul, at Sirius XM for about 8 years. And then I got into doing people's albums and performing at the White House for Barack Obama for 3 years. And so finally I said, you know what? I need to start writing again. I need to do what God created me to do. And what I'm learning is that the world needs who I was made to be. And I look at so much of today's music, and it's really dummied down.
Yeah.
It really has. So I had to release my fear. I was afraid because I said, oh, the young people's not going to like it. Oh, radio's not going to play it. Oh, nobody's ever going to download it. And I prayed about it. And after I prayed about it, God said, let it go. Let your children go. Don't hold them hostage. Your music is your children. Let them go into the world, and I will bless you. And when he said, let them go, I hooked up with Chantel through a dear friend of mine, William Neely, out in Los Angeles. It's been a blessing working with her. And then she hooked me up with a gentleman by the name of Charvet the Don out of Detroit, who also lives here in Vegas. And he had a distribution deal through Sony Music. And he said, hey, listen, you can bring your label in under mine, and you'll have your own record label. Not only will you be the artist, you'll be the label. So I said, yeah,
Great.
I'm finally the record label. Cool. So Time Has Come Today is really telling people, all of the people out there, including yourself, if there's something that you're afraid of, success lies on the other side of your fear. Whatever you're afraid of, once you push yourself through it, then your time will come today.
Are you planning?
Success is on that other side.
Are you planning to releasing after this an entire LP as well, or what's the plan after?
Yes, the middle of June, the entire LP comes out. I have songs. This song, Time Has Come Today, I wrote with a gentleman by the name of Chris Palmero, who's a brilliant jingle writer in New York. Worked with a lot of the luminaries in New York, Tony Bennett. And then I also have a song written by Chris and Mark Cohen, who had the hit and the Grammy Award winning Mark Cohen, who had Walking in Memphis. He wrote a song for my album. And then I have another gentleman, Billy Seidman, who is a professor at NYU College. He wrote 2 songs for me in Memphis, Nashville, Tennessee.
Okay.
So it's been great. And then everything else I wrote myself. I wrote 65 songs and I narrowed it down to 11.
You know the real value of this song, and then this is how I can measure what everybody going to feel when they listening that song. That I'm showing so many songs to my daughter. She's 17. New releases, and then she was all the time like, okay, that's good, okay, fine. But right after she just heard the song "Time Has Come Today," she was like, because she's also singing and everything. I sent you over on the messenger because
Okay.
she was creating something to you from your song. If you have time, just please try to check. So she was right after sitting down and then try to sing. She was so involved into the song right away. That was unbelievable to see and feel. How much she touched by your song. And then
thank you.
even if it's a brand new release, again, it's like, for me, it's so much feeling from the 70s, so much feelings from the human part as well. So it's unbelievably nice.
Thank you. You know what we were going for, the sound and the feeling. I always tell young people, you never know where you're going to unless you know where you come from. In Europe, and probably in Budapest and London and Paris, all these other places, they know about Marvin Gaye. They know about Stevie Wonder. They know about Aretha Franklin, James Brown. Unfortunately, in America, these kids know nothing of that. They don't know
Such a
their
strange
history.
thing. Yeah, because
Yeah,
you
strange. And
you cannot
so,
you cannot imagine the soul and funk music, how popular here in Europe. And of course these kind of names and also other big names as well. It's like, yeah, everybody knows them, everybody still digging, buying vinyls. We have clubs, we have I have the show with so many listeners, which is luckily super popular. So it's still really, it's on fire.
oh yeah, well, you know what? Kids over here don't even know who Paul McCartney is. When he did the duet with Kanye West,
Yep.
all the young kids was going, "Wow, Kanye got that old white man on there. Isn't he lucky?" And I'm saying, "You idiot! You don't know that he's the Beatles." So, but the thing and the sound that we were going for, in my mind, me and Chris, was Marvin Gaye's Trouble Man.
Yeah,
And
I
we
feel
were
it.
going for Curtis Mayfield.
I feel it.
Those were the two areas we were looking at. Curtis Mayfield, and Curtis Mayfield is a very underrated R&B genius. Before anybody, Curtis Mayfield was doing Superfly and all those other tracks along in the same time frame as Isaac Hayes.
Yep.
It was the sound, like you said, of the 70s.
And to be
And
honest,
it changed the world.
as soon as the song started, like it's like 5 seconds or maybe less, and then we feel it. We feel it.
Oh, good. Well, I'm glad, because that's what I wanted. And this whole album is about positive messages. So many times when you listen to the music from today, it's about sex, it's about drugs, it's about shoot 'em up with a gun. And, the world is in enough trouble as it is. We got 2 wars going on in 2 different places. Israel and Hamas is at war, Russia is at war with Ukraine.
Yeah.
And we got the United States sitting in the middle, and we're just handing out guns on both sides. We're like a drug dealer. We're handing out guns. And the message of hope gets lost. You got to have hope. And musically, I don't hear anything that brings any hope. So I took it upon myself to say, listen, if I'm going to be the catalyst for hope and change in today's society, in 2024, then let me do it. And being that, and you know what? I was afraid, but when I did it, Look at how far it reached. It reached you all the way in Budapest.
Yep.
So that was just showing me that was my clarification, if you want to say, from God saying, "Hey, told you what I do. Now keep doing it." And that's what I continue to do. I got a lot of great songs on this album. I got a song on this album. I was writing a ballad one night, and I was praying, and a former slave, came to me from the 1800s. And spiritually, he was in my studio. And he said, "Don't write a ballad, write about me, write about my life." And I said, "Okay." And he said, "I'm going to tell you about it, and you write it down." And he told me. And he wrote, and I was writing it down as the slave was giving it to me. "The boatman is coming to take me where I won't return. The dark smell of midnight where fires start to burn. The look and the fear of the children with tears in their eyes. The lost hope of mothers left hollow and empty inside. Father, forgive me the hatred I feel in my heart. Torn from my family, I stand on the auctioning block. Stripped of my pride and dignity and everything else. No room for mercy. No help from heaven or hell." And that's the name of the song. It's called "Calling for Mercy." So I got a lot of good music like that coming down the pike, and
Can't wait.
I
Can't wait
think
to
people
present.
will enjoy it.
Can't wait.
It's a very spiritual album too. I think what I wanted to effectually in changing people's minds is change the conversation, change it from sex to falling in love, like we used to do in the 70s. When you met a woman and you fell in love, you took her to the restaurant. You opened up the door for her.
Yep.
I may sound old, but those are the things that I was raised with.
Yep.
And I'm trying to bring that back.
It's unbelievable. What is your opinion? How do you see recording a song right now or recording a sound in early 80s? What's the biggest difference? Or how you can keep what's the secret? How you kept the balance between right away we heard back the 70s or so many other artists releasing songs, recording songs, and then we felt on the sound is not the same?
Well, here's the issue and why. All of these kids sample the 70s. They're too lazy to pick up a guitar and learn how to play. They're too lazy to learn how to play the drums. They're too lazy to learn how to play the keyboards. They'd rather push a button and play a sample of Stevie Wonder. Push a button and play a sample of Ray Charles. And in the 80s or early 90s, P. Diddy, Puff Daddy, brought that about because all he was doing was sampling 70s music and putting hip hop on it. And now the kids think, "Oh, well, I'm going to do what he did and I'm going to get rich." But somewhere in that culture of hip hop merging with R&B, we lost our sense of musicianship. These kids today, not all of them, but most of them, don't want to take the time to learn how to come up with a snare drum, to learn how to come up with a kick drum, to learn how to play a keyboard. And I asked Lionel Richie, I've had some great teachers in the business, Smokey Robinson, Billy Eckstein. These are people I met and I talked to. Lionel Richie, I talked to Lionel and I asked Lionel, I said, the same question that you posed to me. Lionel, what do you miss about today's music from the 70s till today? What would you say is the difference? And you know what he said to me? It's the melody.
Absolutely right.
There's no melody in today's songs that you would actually remember. All through the 90s, 2000s, find one song that you can go, for once in my life, you know the melody, you know the song. And I tell people, when you hear music, automatically, when you hear any song from Motown or anybody, you remember where you were when you heard it. You remember who you were with when you heard it, and you remember the situation that you were in, whether you were happy, whether you just broke up with your girlfriend, whether you just lost your car, was repossessed, or whether you just bought a new car. It's either happy or sad. Music makes you feel good in the worst of times. And even the saddest songs in our memories can bring us hope. So that's why I went back to the 70s, because that's where we come from. That's where music evolved. That's where we live. And if we can teach the world to sing those songs again, with a little bit of different twist on it,
Yep.
make it a little more modern today, then it's more malleable for the children to digest. Like your daughter, who's 17, and she hears it, she goes, wait, what is that? Wait, hold on.
That was so strange. So strange.
Yeah, when you make it malleable, where they can taste it and they can eat it and they digest it. Children know good music. But what I always have fancied myself on doing, if the world is going left, then D-Train is going right. Even in the 80s, when we did You're the One for Me, we were coming out of the disco era with Gloria Gaynor and the Village People, you know, and Casey and the Sunshine Band. And we were entering into the 80s. And Hubert, being the brilliant genius that he is, came up with You're the One for Me on a Prophet 5 keyboard. And he called me over to his house. And he said, I got this song, man, and man, I got to play it for you. He said, I only got this one thing. And I said, okay, play it again. Because we were playing it on the old 1/4-inch tapes.
Yep.
So he played it again. I said, give me a pen, man. Give me a pen. And I started writing. With this new love I found, takes my feet up off the ground to fly away. And we wrote You're the One for Me in 1 hour. We wrote it. And so we knew that we had a chemistry together. And that week, we wrote You're the One for Me. We wrote Keep On. And we did Love Vibrations. That in 1 week.
Late 70s, early 80s, so many great artists, so many unbelievable songs, and so many underrated artists as well. What was the secret to keep yourself in a spotlight or somehow keep yourself into the business well? Meanwhile, it was, I have so many vinyls from great artists, but I see that only 1 7-inch, 1 LP and done, nothing else after. What happened?
What happens is a lot of people, even today, a lot of my contemporaries, they're so busy living off of legacy music. They wrote a song 40 years ago, and they've been touring off of that one song for 40 years. But they didn't have the mind to say, well, if I did it 40 years ago, I could do it again today. And so they're worried, they're so consumed with losing their fame in what they used to be, afraid to embrace today. And that's what I did with Time Has Come Today. You have to embrace where you live in 2024, not where you lived in 1974.
Yeah.
But you got to embrace 2024 and take the lesson. See, what I did, I took the lessons that I learned growing up as a kid. My father would take me and my sisters to the Apollo Theater, and I'd get to see the Temptations live. I got to see Smokey Robinson and the Miracles live, James Brown live, the 5 Stairsteps live. You know, when I was a kid growing up, Michael Jackson and the Jackson 5 came on the Ed Sullivan Show.
Yep.
And they were black kids who looked like me. And I was like, wow, I can do this. And after watching Jermaine play the guitar, the bass guitar, I kept walking around my father's house with a broomstick, going like this, because I wanted to be like Jermaine. And I kept going, A, B, C. And my father would laugh at me. He said, do you really want to play the guitar? And I said, yes, I do. So he got me. He went down Flatbush Avenue in Brooklyn, brought me a guitar, and they put me in guitar lessons from the age of 10 years old to
That
14
was
years
your
old.
first instrument, the guitar?
Yeah, yeah. It still is my main instrument. How I write songs is I'll sound the chords out on the guitar because I know how to play guitar,
Yep.
and then I use those same chords and play them on the keyboard. And
Okay.
even though I'm not a virtuoso, it comes out sounding pretty good.
And then really the inspiration in the early age was like what you mentioned, like watching these artists live in different places, right?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Michael Jackson was the one, and the Jackson 5. Let me say it like that because when he came out, he didn't come out as Michael Jackson. They came out as the Jackson 5.
Yep.
And they were so big and huge, they just changed my life. And they made me want to do music. And then my dear friend Will Downing, who is solely responsible for D-Train,
Yeah.
because Will Downing introduced me to Hubert Eves in the studio. And that's how D-Train was formed. I was a football player in Brooklyn, and I used to hit guys really hard. And my football brothers gave me the name D-Train and made me defensive captain of the team. We won a city championship, went to the mayor's office, got our trophies and our medallions.
Super.
And when I got into the record business, Hubert said, "That's a cool name, man, D-Train. Why
Yeah,
don't
it's
we
super
use
cool,
that?"
to be honest. Super cool.
Yeah. So I said, okay. And we've always had D-Train. And you know what? I own the trademark, so no one can trademark it. And I legally changed my name from James Williams to D-Train.
Wow. Okay, I didn't know that. That's such a valuable information. Okay,
Yeah.
a little bit, next subject. Among the vinyl collectors, you can imagine how popular to having the American artist's vinyl in Japan pressing.
Yeah. Well, you know what? That was American companies' ways of stealing royalties that they didn't want to pay to the artist. Even myself. I did In Your Eyes and Miracles of the Heart for Columbia Records in 1986 and in 1988. In 1989, the Japanese Sony Music bought Columbia Records, Epic Records, and everything and turned it into Sony Music. What they did with the masters is they shipped the masters of my albums into Japan
Okay.
and sold them into the back door of Europe as exports, thinking that I'd never find out about it because I'm a New Yorker. I'm not going to Budapest. I'm not going to France. So then when I get to France, I find that they not only released the album, but they released CDs. And I'm going, wait a minute. They said they didn't even make CDs back in 1988. Come to find out, when Sony Music took over and the Japanese came in, they made CDs in the bundles and sold them into the back door of Europe with Japanese writing on them. And they never paid the American artists because they figure the money's being funneled back to them. It's like a back door through Europe, through Japan.
And also, like when they came out with the Japan CDs, they also were putting some bonus tracks to the CDs, which was, let's say, never released before or something.
Right.
So it was...
Or remixes.
Yeah.
You know, they were adding remixes to them. And that was another way of making money. Because what they would do, a DJ would come along and say, I want to do a remix of D-Train's You're the One for Me. Okay. We want $10,000. Okay. There's $10,000. Grand Theft Auto 5, the video game for PlayStation. We want to use D-Train's You're the One for Me in Grand Theft Auto 5. Okay, that'll be $15,000. Now, Grand Theft Auto 5, after they paid Rockstar Games, after they paid Unidis Music of Canada that $15,000, guess how much money they made in the first week from that video game?
Can't imagine.
$1 billion.
Unbelievable.
They paid $15,000 to make $1 billion in the first week.
Crazy.
And this was the industry's way of not paying the artists. We never got dime from Rockstar Games.
Super.
Yeah, hopefully, man. I'd love to come over there and do some shows, man. I've never been to Budapest. Heard a lot about your country, and man, it's really deeply an honor to be with you and know that my reach has gone that far.
End of this year, I'm planning to bring over Ray Parker. So let's see how the next year we have 2 or 3 big events, 2-3 days festivals, and one of the day every time, mostly R&B, soul, so this type of music. I'm well connected with the owner, so I would be super pleased, and I'm gonna do my best to, let's see, keep the connection and see how it goes, and what's your schedule, and maybe we can do something together. It would be fantastic.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Chantel, she plans my schedule out, so
yeah,
she'd be the best person to reach out because I'm always on the road.
Yeah, and are you coming to Paris? Are you coming to Paris, right, in this year?
Yes, I'll be on Paris on the 28th of August.
That's fantastic. That's also.
And I'll be in Lyon on the 23rd.
Are you planning to releasing your new single on vinyl as well, or just a digital format right now?
Oh no, I'm doing vinyl. And I am doing CD and digital.
Fantastic.
Because, people like yourself, the old school DJs love vinyl.
Of course.
Europe loves vinyl.
Yeah.
So, and even on vinyl, you get to see the picture. You get to see who wrote the song.
That's
the musicians.
Great. We see the credits and everything. Yeah.
Yes. See, that's something that's lost in digital.
Absolutely.
Because when you download a song from iTunes, you don't know who wrote it, who played on it, or nothing.
Yeah, and that's the real value, and this is how you can also emphasizing everyone who was collaborating in the song. That's important.
Yes, sir. You got that right.
Absolutely.
Yeah,
so, James, thank you very much for your time. It was lovely to chat with you. And then as soon as we are cut everything and put it together, we're going to put some subtitles to the conversation. And then I'm going to send over when it's done. And then also we will be proudly presenting your new single, and also in the future, as many songs as possible from your fantastic work.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, the new album is coming out the middle of September. So look for it. I'll have Chantel get it to you. I'm working on doing merch now, albums and CDs. So we'll get that to you too in a nice little package.
Thank you very much, James. Thank you very much. All the best for you and your lovely family. All the best.
Thank you,
Take care.
friend. God bless you, man.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Take care, brother.
Bye-bye. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.